The Caliphate, a form of rule in Islam that lasted for almost 13 centuries, from the death of the Prophet Muhammad to the overthrow of the last Ottoman Caliph in 1924.
The Arabic term for Caliph is Khalifa, which actually in essence simply means a successor or a deputy.
The ruler of the Islamic world would call himself Khalifat Rasulillah, the successor of God's messenger.
Through the centuries, the title of Caliph is a term that has been used and at times abused. In June 2014, a militant group calling itself the Islamic State in Iraq and the Levant, or ISIL, declared the establishment of a caliphate, a call rejected by most Muslims around the world. ISIL reached into the past to appropriate the title of Caliph. The group claimed its leader, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, as a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad's own tribe, the Quraysh.
أنت ممكن تقول أنا عربي قرشي وأنا ممكن أقول عربي قرشي. لكن حتى لو قلت أنا عربي قرشي ولا يوجد لدي شعبية أو قبول بالعالم الإسلامي، ماذا يفيد هذا اللقب؟
This is the story of how the title of Caliph began in the Prophet's tribe, and how, 9 centuries later, the title was used by people of a different race. How different dynasties rose and fell, ending with the decline of the Ottoman Caliphate. This is the story of the Caliph. Mecca, Saudi Arabia, the holiest city of Islam. It was here, in the spring of the year 571, that Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam, was born into a family belonging to a tribe called Quraysh.
قريش كانت قبيلة مقر لها الزعامة في الجزيرة العربية وخارج الجزيرة العربية. قريش كانت أهل التجارة والمعرفة في أحوال البلاد العربية. قريش كانت تعرف معظم الحكام بالأطراف.
61 years later, Muhammad died in Medina, the capital of the new Islamic State. And with his death came the problem of who should be his successor. One thing seemed clear: the new caliph had to come from the Prophet's tribe.
لم يكن يصلح لهذه الفترة من القيادات العربية إلا قيادة قرشية. لكن هل يصلح أن يبقى هذا الشرط في عموم الزمان الإسلامي؟ هذا يختلف فيه المؤرخون، وإن كانت القرشية مطلوبة في طول التاريخ الإسلامي.
For 300 years after the Prophet's death, the Caliphate remained in his tribe. But by the mid-10th century, the Muslim world had fractured, divided now between 3 caliphs, all 3 descendants of Quraysh. In centuries to come, one by one, each of those three caliphates would crumble and fall. Cordoba, Spain. Capital of the Andalusian Umayyad Caliphate. A distant remnant of the Umayyad dynasty that ruled from Damascus in the 7th and 8th century. The death of the second Caliph, Al-Hakam, ushered in half a century of chaos among members of his family. In 1031, the 9th and last Umayyad Caliph, Hisham, was forced to step down.
الأمر كان ضد مجرى التاريخ، ضد مسار التاريخ. كيف يعقل أنك منبوذ بقوسين داخل محيطك الإسلامي وتسعى إلى إقامة دولة بديلة في نقطة نائية من الأرض هي بلاد الأندلس؟ فأنت لا يمكنك أن تساهم في التأصيل دينيا لمصداقية خطابك حول الخلافة، وسياسيا لا يمكنك أن تجمع كلمة المسلمين كلهم في كل نقاط الأرض تحت راية واحدة هي راية الخلافة الأموية.
Across the Mediterranean, the Fatimids in Cairo also fell victim to bitter infighting. In 1021, the 6th Caliph, Al-Hakam, mysteriously disappeared in the Muqattam hills outside his capital. His death, almost certainly at the hands of his own family, would be the start of the Fatimids' long decline.
From the late 11th century onward, the Fatimid Caliph is increasingly losing control of affairs, and that the political and military elites are starting to take over the state de facto.
In Baghdad, the Abbasids were suffering a similar fate. By the middle of the 11th century, the Seljuks, a rising Turkic dynasty, had seized control of the Caliphate.
السلاجقة حققوا انتصارات خاصة على الروم وكونوا إمبراطورية قوية، لكن الخلافة فيها لم يكن لها أي دور، وإنما كان شخصا برضه له السلطة الإسمية والشرعية.
The Seljuk rulers were the first to take the title Sultan, an Arabic word meaning authority. And in the trials to come, the defenders of Islam would be sultans of non-Arab birth. Clermont, France. The statue of Pope Urban II, pointing eastward. In November 1095, from this city, he launched a Christian campaign to recapture Jerusalem and the Holy Land from the Muslims. The Crusades.
Clermont was planned by the Pope to be an assembly where he reasserts his authority to declare war.
In 1096, the Crusaders set out on an arduous overland eastward journey. After 3 years of demanding travel and fierce battles, they finally reached their goal. In July 1099, the Christians captured Jerusalem.
There's a major massacre. Muslims died, Jews died, even some Eastern Christians who the Europeans didn't recognize as Christians died. And the chroniclers, from the Crusaders' perspective, present this as vengeance for the blasphemy that these Saracens had done to Jesus' holy city of Jerusalem.
4.5 centuries earlier, Jerusalem had surrendered to the second Caliph of Islam, Omar. But in 1099, as Muslims sought to confront the marauding Crusaders, Islam faced a burning question. Where was the Caliph?
The Abbasids at that point had no military force which they could have sent. The Fatimid Caliphate, they had lost their Syrian lands to local warlords. So when they saw the Crusaders coming in, they probably were quite happy to see that these usurpers were now facing a major problem with these clearly quite strong military contingents moving in from Europe.
Large areas of the Levant were occupied, divided by the Christians into 4 distinct fiefdoms. But after half a century of Crusader success, Muslims slowly began to fight back. But it was not the caliphs who led the fight.